For most of you, this will be the first in a fairly lengthy series that deals with the leasing process. I promised you that I will give you something that is fairly revolutionary. I can guarantee you that for everyone that goes through this series with me, I will give you something brand new to think about. But it's going to be some hard work. I'm going to start today by talking about a concept called moments of truth. The first two in the series on leasing, first two segments that we're going to go through, really kind of set the tone for everything else that we're going to discuss. And I'm going to share with you almost everything I've learned in my career. Now, some of that I've learned from books, and some of that I've learned from seminars that I've gone to. But a lot of it I have learned from watching really spectacular people at the front line do their job. And I'm going to share with you what I've seen them do because I've watched it work. So, there's this fellow named Jan Carlson. Mr. Carlson, I believe in about 1980 or 82, was the marketing director for Scandinavian Airlines, which is a pretty large airline that primarily deals with the European market. And at the time that Mr. Carlson was the marketing director, the CEO position came open and he decided to apply for it and he got it. Now at the time his company was losing a lot of money. I don't know exactly the number, but I think it was something like $8 million, which at that time was a lot of money. And Mr. Carlson decided that that was a pretty bad idea, that maybe if his company kept losing that kind of money, it would go out of business. So he began to examine his company, and in doing so, he put it under a microscope. And he came up with a concept called moment of truth. Now, a moment of truth is a point of contact between a customer or a potential customer and a company, during which that customer or potential customer decides to do business with that company or to continue to do business with that company. So, they're everywhere. In Mr. Carlson's situation, he had an airline. He talks in his books about the fact that a customer has a contact with someone when they call or go to the internet and secure a ticket. They have contact with his company when they come to the airport and attempt to get in line and get their ticket and process their baggage. And then they get to the gate and they have contact with more people in his company. And they get on the airline and everything may have gone just fine. And there they sit and they put down their tray to get, I don't know, the beverage or whatever is served. And there's a coffee stain on the tray. And Mr. Carlson says, ooh, all the good moments of truth that went on have been destroyed because now here sits a customer looking at a coffee stain and they make the leap in their mind from, oh my goodness, if they couldn't clean up the tray, maybe there's something wrong with the engine and maybe I should be fearful of flying on this plane. I want you to take that concept and I want you to bring it to the apartment industry. Moments of truth are everywhere. They sometimes involve you person to person, and sometimes they don't. Phone calls, emails, tours, follow-up, retention, all of those involve you, and those are moments of truth that you have to be aware of and that you have control over. You can make those good moments of truth for your customers. But there are moments of truth that you are in control of, but that maybe you don't partake in. For example, let's say that your property sits in a location where the signage is towards the street and what we call curb appeal, the appearance of the yard and the parking lot and the building itself are observed by the people who drive by. And let's say that the weeds are kind of high and the grass is brown and the parking lots are cracked and perhaps the paint is cracking around the building. And people may drive by and they have a moment of truth, a bad moment of truth, and they don't stop. You don't even know that they had the moment of truth because they never become your customer. They had a point of contact with you, and during that point of contact, they made a decision. I'm going to show you what I consider the ultimate bad moment of truth. You're going to see on the screen a sign that my husband and I took a photo of when we were driving in Las Vegas some years ago. I challenge you to please look at your building, your curb appeal, and see if the signage and the exterior of your building says to people driving by that this is a building where someone cares, or does it say no one here cares enough to even pick up the trash? This sign, certainly, that's on the screen next to me says no one here cares. So we're going to examine in fairly decent detail over the course of our time together a lot of moments of truth. We're going to examine your first points of contact with a customer, assuming that they considered the curb appeal to be attractive and they made it as far as making a phone call or sending you an email. There will be an opportunity for you to have a face-to-face contact with a customer, a potential customer. Now it's your obligation to make whatever moments of truth they have with you in those emails and in those phone calls good moments of truth. Again, we're going to talk about this in more detail later, but one of the big mistakes I see people making that makes, I think, for a bad moment of truth is the speed with which they handle people's inquiries. If I call you and I get a voicemail, I will tell you, you may never call me back. That is more common than you believe. Or you don't call me back for days. The speed at which the world functions is no longer allowing you to wait that long to get in touch with a customer. I have lots of other options, and I will go to them if you give me the opportunity. The same with emails. When I write you an email, you now have the ability to instantaneously get back to me. Even if I write to you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're not in the office, you can have an auto response in place. Many of you don't have that. So check your email frequently. If I send you an email, get back to me. I'm fairly impressed. A lot of people don't do that, but that's one of the ways you can have a good moment of truth experience for your customer. You can control that, and you can make a good impression on them. Voicemails. I leave a lot of voicemails for people, and so I get the opportunity to listen to the first impression they often make on a customer. And the first thing I will tell you is, if you possibly can avoid voicemails, do. Answer live as often as you possibly can. That in itself is a great moment of truth. The second thing is the tone of voice that you have. I will talk in some later sessions about emotional seepage. The people that I hear on the phone sound bored. They sound distracted, they sound disturbed, they sound lots of things that aren't particularly positive. I also suggest that you pick the phone up quickly. My mother has an answering machine, and I said, you know, are people leaving messages? And she said, no, no one ever leaves me a message. And I was at her house one day and I looked at the dial and she had it set for 5 rings. And I said, you do realize that by the time your phone rings 3 times in my ear, I think you're not home and I hang up. Well, she didn't realize that. People do not have patience. As I said, the world runs at a very fast pace these days. And so pick up the phone. I remember going as a young thing in the business to a seminar where someone said, wait for the 3rd ring. Nonsense. Pick it up as quickly as you can. You make me feel valued as a customer, and I'm fine with that. You don't sound desperate. I appreciate the fact that you picked up the phone, and I'm delighted that I have a human being to talk to. Listen to the tone of voice on your voicemail. I mean, there are going to be times when you're not there, and you are going to have messages. Listen to what is said and the tone of voice with which it is said. Does it sound like a happy person works there? Does it sound like that person is knowledgeable? And does it sound as though the person that is instructing me to leave a message is going to be fairly engaging? I have to feel that, or I'm probably not even going to leave a message. The same thing is true when you answer live. I want you to measure and perhaps have others give you an objective opinion on your tone of voice, the things you say. How do you say them? How do you sound? Ask those questions and be able to accept those criticisms from folks that work with you. I want you to kind of rework your answering of a telephone, because you must remember that it's the first moment of truth that customers often experience. So the idea of moments of truth are going to carry through almost everything that I teach you over as long as we're together. I'm going to talk about that concept a lot. I'm going to talk about it in terms of not just the telephone and email contact that you have with your customers or the vision they have of your building when they experience the curb appeal, but I'm going to talk about it in terms of your ongoing relationship with your customers. I'm going to talk about it in terms of your relationship with each other and your team building and your internal customer relations that you have inside your company. I'm going to talk about it in all of those things. I want you to think about the fact that a moment of truth, thousands of moments of truth occur for your customers, potential and actual, every single day. And the good moments of truth, if you can control them and make sure that they are as often as possible good moments of truth, it will set you apart from your competition. It makes you and your building and your company special. It makes you and your building and your company memorable. And it will set you apart. It will set you above your competition. So, this isn't the first time you'll hear this, but I want to be the angel on your shoulder. I've decided that an angel's better than a devil, so I want to be the angel on your shoulder. And I want you to hear me talking to you, because a lot of this behavior is going to be difficult to change. And I want the coach to go with you. I want that little megaphone that is my symbol and my logo to be right up against your ear, telling you things, because you're going to need some coaching. You're going to need some advice and guidance. So for your homework assignment, I want you to see if you can just recognize all the things that you do that are actual moments of truth for your customers. One way you might do that is start examining as a customer yourself the moments of truth you're experiencing with the people with whom you do business. The good moments of truth and the bad moments of truth. And start bringing that same critical eye back to our business. And then I want you to pick out just three moments of truth that you know you are having in your relationship with your customers, potential or real. So prospects or actual residents. And I want you to think of ways, plan ways that you can improve that experience, make them better moments of truth for those customers. And I want you to hold yourself accountable and talk to your supervisor or others with whom you work. And I want you to plan how you're going to do that. I'll see you next time.